How is it going out there, everybody? This is Speedboy14. I thought I'd make a gimmick video. In this gimmick video, I'll be talking about examples of RNG from a lot of Mario games. If you guys can give me a favor and drop a like on this video, I'd really appreciate that. I'll leave timestamps in the description just in case if you want to jump to that particular game that I'll be talking about. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to click that subscribe button and click on the bell right beside it to be notified every time my new videos come out. And without further ado, let's get into this. The first game we're going to talk about is Super Mario 64. We know Super Mario 64 is easy, mostly, but it does have some RNG in some levels. I mean, it don't have a lot, but it does have some. I do have an example of RNG I want to show. The main example of RNG in Super Mario 64 is when you play any level, whenever you defeat an enemy, like for example stomping on a Goomba, it's random which way the coins will bounce. And it's random which way the coins will bounce. It can... Especially if you want to collect 100 coins, it can make it random and stuff like that. There's not really too much I have to say. And a few random elements I can say is a little random in Bob on Battlefield when those bubbles start falling down from the sky. But it doesn't really affect your strategy much to beat the level because they're easy to avoid. And like I said, this is a pretty easy game overall, so not really, the RNG don't really affect your gameplay that much, and there's not really that much of it. So we're going to move on to the next game. Alright, Super Mario Sunshine is known for RNG. Like, this game is RNG central. Like, it really is. It probably has the most RNG of any 3D Mario game. It's RNG central. Like, the RNG is just hardcore. Especially in the very difficult levels. Because this game is known for its difficulty. But I have an example of RNG I definitely want to show. It's the King Boo boss fight. Like, the King Boo boss fight is definitely the example of RNG I want to show in Mario Sunshine. If I can actually get there. So, King Boo boss is RNG all the time. Everything is RNG in this boss. So this is definitely the example from Mario Sunshine for RNG I'm talking about. Like, it's random what will happen at the start, whether or not you'll get triple pineapple or not. The objective is pretty simple. You just have to grab the red hot chili pepper, throw it at his tongue, grab another fruit, and throw it at him to attack him. So that's what's simple, is the strategy. But the very difficult part is the RNG. The RNG is just preposterous. Because it's random when it happens every time. Everything about this boss is RNG. Why? Just look it up on the internet to find more details about this. It's hard to explain. Alright, for New Super Mario Bros. DS, I do have an example of an RNG level I want to show. We know New Super Mario Bros. DS is easy, mostly. We know it's a pretty easy game overall, but I do have an example of a level that has RNG in this game. And this game don't have much RNG, but it does have some. Like, I mean, it does have some, but not like a lot. An example I wanted to show is World 8-8. This level is probably the most random level in the game because of where the asteroids will fall. The asteroids are falling down all over the place, and you never know where they're gonna fall. Like, this level is just insane with where they fall. It's random every time, and you can't learn a pattern about it. That's all I'm gonna say, is because the RNG in this level is insane. It's one of the more random Mario levels in Mario history. Alright, now we're gonna move on to the next game. Alright, so for Super Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Galaxy is a fairly easy game overall, but actually, I didn't really find too many examples of RNG in the game, because the boss fight patterns are very consistent in this game. They don't really have RNG, I mean they do, but they don't have much. But they don't have much RNG by any means at all, and then the enemy patterns are very consistent in this game. But I do have an example of a level with a little bit RNG I want to talk about, and that is the boss fight in the Bowser Jr. That is Bowser Jr.'s robot reactor. I have discovered a little bit RNG in this mission. I definitely want to show it. Because this mission does have a little bit of RNG, but not much. So, the randomness of the Mega Leg boss, I can definitely mention what the randomness is, because he don't really have that, even he don't have that much randomness. The most random part is whether or not his leg will lift up or stay down. And it's basically 50-50 whether or not it raises up or stays down. I'm not sure what the exact odds are on it, but I would guess 50-50. See, it raised up. And then sometimes it stays down and sometimes it raises up. But the strategy is relatively simple for this boss. You just need to guide a bullet bill to attack him and stuff like that. Like, for example, you need to have a bullet bill to attack this thing. And then this part's really simple here. You just need to guide a bullet bill and then use it. Backflip, spin, and have the bullet bill attack the window that has the grand star. So it's still a very easy boss if you know what to do. And now you just grab the grand star. And that's really all I have to say about Super Mario Galaxy. Don't really have much examples of RNG in this game because this game don't have much of it. Now we're gonna move on to the next game. Alright, so for New Super Mario Bros. Wii, I didn't really discover much RNG in the levels, since the levels have pretty consistent patterns. But I did experience some RNG on the world maps in the worlds. Like, for example, when you go to any world and you have map enemies you have to defeat, it's random which way the enemy will go. Like, it can go towards you, it can go away from you, it's random. That's all I'm going to talk about New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Now we'll move on to the next game. Alright, for Super Mario Galaxy 2, this is the interesting thing about Super Mario Galaxy 2. It actually has a lot more RNG than you think it does. Especially in the very difficult stars. But I do have examples of RNG I want to show. An example I want to show is in the Rolling Coaster Galaxy when you play the regular star. So when you played a regular star, the Rainbow Road roll. Excuse me. The example I have for RNG in this level is the enemy replacement. The enemy placements. It's random where the enemies will appear. Especially if you go this way. It's random which way these micro Goombas will appear, so you can't learn a pattern to avoid accidentally stepping on them. And that's really all I have to say. Now we're going to move on to the next game. Alright, so Super Mario 3D Land. We know this game is a pretty easy game overall. I didn't really experience much RNG in this game. So, the RNG in this game, I don't know any example. So, I do have an example of RNG I want to show. It's in World 7-4. And eventually, there's bob-ombs that will fall down from the sky. And some of the bob-ombs that aim towards you, those bob-ombs are fairly predictable, but I do want to talk about an example of RNG, is when you get later in this level, when you get the bob-ombs that are not as predictable, which are the ones that fall from the sky. But even those, you can figure out what to do easily. Excuse me. Like, bob-ombs falling from the sky can be insane. And it's random where they'll fall to. And you have to be aware of that. That's really the only RNG I can think of in Mario 3D Land. Now we're going to move on to the next game. Alright, so we know New Super Mario Bros. 2 is a very easy game. And it's definitely one of the easier Mario games out there. So, I do have a New Super Mario Bros. 2 example of RNG. I mean, this game don't really have a whole lot of RNG overall, but an example I want to show is World 6-1. Because there is a little bit of RNG in World 6-1. It's coming from the volcano when they shoot down, the, rocks. When the volcanoes shoot down the rocks, that's definitely the example of RNG in this game. And it's random where the rocks will fall to. Otherwise, I didn't really experience any RNG in other levels. This is the only level I experienced RNG in, and it's the only example I can show. But overall, the rocks are still easy to avoid if you know how to avoid them, because they do move down pretty slowly. Because they move pretty slowly, so they're easy to dodge. And that's all I have to talk about New Super Mario Bros. 2's RNG, so now we're going to move on to the next game. In New Super Mario Bros. U, which is New Super Mario Bros. U if you're playing on the Wii U, or New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe if you're playing on the Switch. In this game, I couldn't really find many examples of RNG, but I do have an example I do want to show. Because we know this game is a pretty easy game overall, but its RNG kicks up in Peach's Castle -1 Meteor Moat, where you have the meteors that fall from the sky, and it's a little random where they'll appear at, and a little random how big they are. Excuse me. And that is what I find to be RNG in this game. So everything else about the level does not have RNG. It's just the meteors that fall from the sky that have RNG. Because otherwise, see, nothing fell that time except for just one that did not even aim towards me. And then there was... And then the others did not even have to aim. That's really all I have to talk about New Super Mario Bros. U, so now we're going to move on to the next game. Okay, so for Super Mario 3D World, this game actually has more RNG than you think it does, because there is quite a bit of RNG in this game, especially in the hard levels in the game. But I definitely have an example of RNG I want to show. And my example of RNG I'm going to show is actually in the castle of World 7. So let's go back there. This is the level that has some RNG that I want to talk about. It's because we know the enemies are somewhat predictable, but the not so predictable part about this is the other enemies that will be later on in the level. Here's where you get to the RNG part of the level. And you know what's RNG here? It's random, whether or not. These kind of enemies, I forget what they're called, I don't know what their names, appear on the screen. It's random or not where they appear at. And that's the RNG example I want to use for Super Mario 3D World. That's the only example of RNG I want to use. So now we're going to move on to the next game. I didn't experience much RNG in Super Mario Odyssey. In Super Mario Odyssey, I've always noticed that the enemies are predictable and they don't have that much RNG. The enemy patterns and the boss patterns are very, very consistent. But I do have an example of a RNG I want to talk about in Super Mario Odyssey. It's actually in the Lake Kingdom, but there's not much of it in the Lake Kingdom. So the example of RNG I want to show in the Lake Kingdom is actually when you go up here to do a shortcut, sometimes the Goomba will be in the way, sometimes it will not. It depends. There's not that many variations of it. But that's the RNG example I want to show for Super Mario Odyssey. Can't really find any other examples I can show for RNG wise for Super Mario Odyssey. So that's all I'm going to show for Super Mario Odyssey. Now we're going to move on to the next game. Alright, so for Bowser's Fury, I didn't really experience that much RNG in the Bowser's Fury game mode, which is the extra game in the Switch version of Super Mario 3D World. So Bowser's Fury, if I had to example of an RNG I do want to show is whenever you're chasing down the bunnies, it's random which way they'll go. Because sometimes you chase down bunnies when you're getting cat shines and stuff, and it's random which way the bunny will go. And that's when you're playing the main game, and then when you're chasing down any of the bunnies, it's random which way they'll hop. And sometimes you might have to go this way, sometimes you might have to go that way, and stuff like that. And that's all I have to talk about Bowser. Like, I can show it right here. See how he went that way? It's random which way he goes. And that is all I have to talk about Bowser's Fury. Now we're going to move on to the final game. Alright, so in the final game that we're going to talk about, which is Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I didn't really experience much RNG in this game. This game, the enemies are kind of consistent. Like, I didn't experience that much RNGs. So I guess my example of RNG that I have in this game is these guys in this level right here. Is random or not they'll shoot out, whether or not they will shoot out, ball, or whether or not they'll shoot fruit at you. Depends on what you're doing, really, whether or not these enemies have RNG. They can shoot it out or they can not shoot it out sometimes. And it's only in this particular level right here that I experienced a little bit of RNG. So once you grab the Wonder Effect, you get star powers. And then they really help out a lot. And then it's random how fast that thing will... I don't know if it's random how fast that thing will run, but I do know he does have a little bit of randomness in shooting those fruit. And that's it for examples of RNG from a lot of Mario games. I hope you guys really enjoyed this special gimmick video I made. Let me know if I missed any moments of RNG from these Mario games. And if you have any examples, you can let me know in the comments below. Alright guys, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, don't forget to drop a like. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to click that subscribe button and click on the bell right beside it to be notified every time I make new videos. Have a wonderful day. Peace, Republic is Big Boy.